So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
Y'all, wait, I know what I'm doing. Got me all like loosey-goosey. You got me all comfortable. I'm like, ooh, I'm on a show. Let me tap into this alter ego really quick. Hey y'all, what's up everyone? My name is K.Short and welcome to another episode of Connecting the Dots. I'm so excited that you are here today because today we're going to have a very, very, very special guest. Someone that has been around for this journey for a very long time. So much so I have a little bit surprise for them in the midst of this conversation. So this is a conversation you're really going to look forward to just because it's friendship, it's family, it's something where it's like, we're doing this together and this is a conversation, this show, things of that sort. It's something we've been talking about. And it's because we're in a mastermind together and we'll tell you more about that. But first and foremost, before I let her into the studio, I just want to be like transparent and clear with all of you because this is something that me and my guests have talked about recently during our mastermind. And I've realized that the whole point of Connecting the Dots is looking for basically the educators in the streets, aka online, in the streets, but also online. We and myself, we've recognized that, we know that the educational system is changing. It has changed. It's going to change. And the future is a little unclear. But we know that the internet's going to be here for a while. And so it's so funny to like be here and doing this work because it's finally coming full circle. And I say that because a decade ago when I was getting my degree in education, I realized I was like, oh, the educational system's going to be different in the future. I don't know how, I don't know why. It was still like kind of in hindsight. This was in 2010, but I was like, I feel like if I became an educator in the educational system, it's not going to pan out the way that I want to as a lifelong career. And so I ended up getting a degree in communication studies and public relations and was pursuing to become a talk show host. And so, I went back to Phoenix after getting my degree in Flagstaff at Northern Arizona University. I started like interviewing people in the streets. I was like, I didn't really know how to start a talk show. Because I didn't get the degree of journalism or whatever the case, but I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And so that's why I started my first YouTube channel. And so Jules was actually one of those people that I interviewed way back when. And so that's why I'm so excited to bring her onto the show because we've been witnessing each other's journeys thus far. And so again, being fully transparent, I'm looking for folks who are ready and willing to educate the next generation. We are now called like coaches, consultants, right? Online educators, and overall just mentors is really what I'm looking for. And so it's so relieving to realize like who my people are. It's been difficult navigating through these streets being like, where are my people at? Oh, they're all in class. No wonder I can't find them out in the streets. But now it's like, okay, like I'm getting to seek out these people who are doing amazing work, who I know, who care about the future, who care about young people, who are learning so many things and are actually getting real life experience. And that's what I really love about season 1 and focusing on entrepreneurs, because we're trying to navigate how to be educators in this new landscape and how we can teach people the things that we're learning. And so what I really love about bringing on Jules, and I'm going to read her bio. Sorry, I get a little excited. Sorry. What I love about Jules is she's tried so many things. Like the experience backs up what she's actually doing. And so you're going to be witnessing a conversation that we're both turning the corner on what feels like after a lot of trial and error, this feels like the one thing that is going to be a long journey. And I'm sure Jules is probably nodding her head right now. But besides all the excitement, let's go ahead and read her bio, because again, I just want you all to know like who you may be learning from in the near future, depending off of the plethora of experiences that she had. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Jules is a seasoned strategy coach with a unique blend of experiences that enrich her approach to personal and professional development. With a bachelor's degree in English from ASU, again, we were both going to be English teachers to some extent, she ventured on a journey that traversed the worlds of entrepreneurship, self-development, entrepreneurship. Oh no, we got this. She ventured on a journey that traversed the worlds of entrepreneurship, self-publishing, and self-development, ultimately forging a path of profound transformation for herself and her clients. As an alumni of ASU, graduating 2013, hey, we graduated at the same time, sis. Jules brings a strong academic foundation to her coaching practice. However, her education extends far beyond the classroom. With over 15 years of hands on experience, primarily in hospitality, also, same, we are very big in the coffee scene. Jules has cultivated a deep understanding of human behavior, motivation, and the intricate dynamics of building community. Yes, yes, and yes. Jules' entrepreneurial spirit led her to found and operate a local coffee shop and personal training business, demonstrating her versatility in diverse fields. Yes, her journey as a self published author is a testament to her commitment to continuous learning and self improvement. What set Jules apart as a strategy coach is her holistic approach. She believes that success in business and personal life are intertwined. And to achieve meaningful results, one must address both, which I absolutely love because I don't think we have enough conversations about that. And so look forward to hearing more about that. Jules focuses on nurturing the mindset of her clients, helping them bridge the gap between intention and action. And her mission is to empower individuals to believe in themselves and their goals, providing them with the tools they need for sustainable long term success, which we'll talk about tools that she's created. With Jules Arballo as your strategy coach, you'll gain more than just a strategic roadmap. You'll commence on a journey of self discovery, confidence building, and transformation. Because at the heart of her approach is the understanding that personal and professional fulfillment go hand in hand. Jules is currently writing her third book, but this time with contributing authors. What? I didn't get this memo. She has recently launched her latest project called Unveiled Reflections, a series of women's narratives of releasing their inner power through storytelling. She has created this platform to be more than just an opportunity for aspiring authors to become published. Her vision for Unveiled Reflections is to hold a safe space to guide and coach both female writers and non-writers to see the value and importance in sharing significant and transformative moment in their lives, how they navigate through the hardship, and how it led them to where and who they are today. It is a space where sisterhood is built and strengthened through the power of finding and using your authentic voice. It is a space where breakthroughs and healing continue, and Jules believes and has led others to see that while not everyone may see themselves as a writer, they must see themselves as a storyteller and the validity in the story they hold. The purpose of Unveiled Reflections is far beyond just writing and publishing a book together. The intention is to impact the writers to vulnerably and courageously share their story while impacting others who haven't quite found the strength to do so yet. Woo-wee! She hasn't even scratched the surface, y'all, but let's go ahead and bring on Jules into the show.
Hi.
I know, same here. Hi,
Okay.
everyone. Jules, welcome to the show. Cheers.
Thank
Good morning.
you.
Good
Cheers.
morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. All right, sis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. That was such a good intro.
Yeah, we
I love that.
tools
I
and
love that.
resources. Yeah, I was just
know.
like, you low-key slept on yourself, and which is fine. But I love that you brought us up to well, because this is the whole point of this show, and this is what I'm gonna love, where I get to practice with you and sharing like this journey thus far, and again showing that credibility, being like, oh my gosh, like I've been trying so many things. And also, was it fair to assume that I think we feel pretty settled into like what's happening right now at this point? Because I know you're a serial entrepreneur, but like maybe it's just like this is gonna be the one for a while. How does it feel for you
Oh
so
yeah.
far becoming a strategy coach?
It still feels like we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
I feel like that's normal though, because that's kind of been the whole entire journey in itself since I started back in 2015.
Yeah.
My entrepreneur journey. And it's just about unfolding different things. But just as we change, the things we find interest in change, and maybe we become more passionate about something different that we're really good at, or we see like needs a little more TLC and attention. So it's just
Wait a
ever changing
second.
like we are.
You said 2015 is when you started your entrepreneurial journey?
Officially, yeah. Dipping my toes into it. So that's when I started Pop Chic, which
Oh,
was power perception. That was when I was first like, well, what is this all about? Like, what is it like to
yes.
work for yourself and start something from the ground up? So that was the very first one.
Did something like happen during that time? Like when, yeah, when did you start asking yourself, like, oh, I wonder what it's like to work for yourself? Like, who planted that little seed? Where did that mustard seed come from?
I've always wanted to. So when I first started college, community college, I was going for business management,
Oh.
not really having the guidance and understanding that you don't need college to start a business. Who would have
Mm-hmm.
thought, right? Um, this is
Okay, but we come from immigrant families, and you're second gen, right? So it's
yeah, well my parents, I don't know how, see, that's the thing too. I don't even know my roots really.
mm-hmm.
I know my parents were born and raised here in Arizona as well.
Yeah.
Um, I think it goes back to like not even my grandparents. My grandparents were from here as well, from America.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if anything, maybe my great grandparents, one of them,
Yeah.
one of them on each side. I don't really know. I've asked. They give me information and like doses, but I'm like, I don't understand what you're even saying. Like, do you even
Yeah.
know? So,
No. Okay.
but at the end of the day, like learning over time as far as how like my parents grew up and how their parents grew up, I finally realized it all makes sense that I am where I am because my parents were trying to undo certain cycles with their parents. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're doing with our, like how we were raised. Like we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
undo certain cycles too. So there's always been a limited belief, limited thinking instilled in the children. But I think every generation have slowly started to unravel in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it goes hand in hand too with like what opportunities are presented with the world changing as well. Like
Yeah.
obviously they didn't have internet back then.
Yeah.
We barely had internet when we were kids. Like we got to see all those transformations too. So we're growing with that opportunity, but our parents are kind of like on the back end too. Like they grew up like working on farms
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
we didn't. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. Some, depending on where you live, I didn't, but
Mm-hmm.
they did. And then they went into like the working class and they like, my mom was in an office like in corporate. So
Mm-hmm.
they got a chance to kind of see that transformation. But I think our generation has been able to see like a lot more, obviously, up
Mm-hmm.
until now with AI and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what this is something I've been and I have a video on this. So I'm not like just like pulling things from thin air, y'all. But I've been saying this for a decade when I started my YouTube channel. I had an interview with a friend that I met at NAU, and I was talking about how like I think our generation, like as millennials, exactly what you said, we were the first ones to like adopt technology in a way that it was pretty proficient. You know what I mean? Because like, yes, those who were born in the '80s, in the '70s, like they're just like, what's this new thing? But I think that there was some fear attached to it. Like, what is that thing and what's happening? But we were like the first to be like we knew it wasn't something that always existed, but it became more accessible a little bit younger, and it was like pretty, it was working pretty well. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a lot of
Yeah.
times older people are like it was like this big block and you had to like plug it in, and then and they're talking about their pagers and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's like, but this, I think we were the first generation from time period to experience the convenience of it and the speed of it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Of course it wasn't, what was perfectionism at that time, but like I say that because we had sidekicks. Please tell me you had a sidekick.
My sister did. I didn't. I
Okay,
wasn't
well,
that cool.
yeah, right. So
I
let's
did have a
y'all
BlackBerry.
you heard that, y'all. She's on the Blackberry team. I was on that sidekick team. So you know. You don't know, and that's okay, But it's like
Yeah.
it's the whole Apple and Android debate back in the day, y'all. Um, so yeah, we were the first ones to like kind of adopt it, and it was like kind of slowly embedded into us. And I think something to acknowledge about that, one, we're the first and last generation to remember that tension between playing outside and not. You know what I mean? And so
Hmm.
that's why I have such an affinity towards us in terms of like, if not us, then who? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because let's be real, these older generations, they're just as I don't like they talk so much crap, but you're just as addicted as the younger generation. You know what I mean? And I feel like we're in this toggle between in this messy middle where we're like, I remember life without it, and I also know life with it. And now we're what I feel like, and this is a question I want you to think about. I feel like as a generation, our in terms of what we're unraveling and what we're undoing as a generation is to find that balance between having it without having it. You know what I mean? And I think for me, why I'm here is talking about my daily digital decluttering, right? But I'm curious for yourself is, and speaking of generationally, and also just having this real conversation about it, because I feel like we don't have enough conversations about it, and giving our credits, giving our like where credit is due with our parents, because I think right now we're having a lot of conversations about mental health and like all this traumatic generation trauma and all these things, but like, what do you think your grandparents and our grandparents, like, how did they move the needle forward? Right? And then how did your parents move the needle forward? And then it coming to you, for you, Jules, specifically, how do you feel like you're moving the needle forward in your family?
Honestly, where I feel is I'm moving it forward for both generations, for the ones before me and the ones after.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because working in a coffee shop, you meet people of all types, age, color, whatever demographic. You meet a lot of people. And then also just being like a little closer with my parents and observing and my like godmother and all that stuff, they're learning from me. And
Mm-hmm.
my mom especially has admit that. Like she receives it. And that's the biggest thing for that generation to do is to receive the changes that we are creating and to learn from us as well because it's impacted. They still have life left. Like they still have so much time to like be fulfilled. And that's the sad part. A lot of those former generations, their dreams were so small, whether if they even had a dream or a goal. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's giving them light to see like where they are now and how they can live differently and be more fulfilled and have that love and peace that they were never once taught to create.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I feel like with me, I'm helping both because it's such a simple way of living. It's simply just living with intent. It's living in the present moment. It's being conscious and aware of how you move, what you say, how you think, how you feel, and how you dress, like every single aspect and where you are, but also understanding that where you are, who you are, all those things is not permanent. And you have the power to change it however you like. You can move places. You can change how you make your daily habits. You can change how you dress.
Mm-hmm.
It's just understanding how much power you have over yourself
Mm-hmm.
is going to reflect on how much power you have over your life.
Mm-hmm. Especially now more than ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
say that because, if you're a young person watching this or just in general, like, I've observed that people feel so hopeless right now, you know? I've observed that people feel like they don't have any power. I've observed that people are giving up. And I think, and it kind of clicked to me, Jules, when I'm thinking about one of the project that you're working on. You're coming out with your third intentions journal or fourth?
The fourth one.
The fourth one. And I just realized, and I'm going to connect this to a conversation I had earlier. I just realized that it is called intentions journal. And I say that because I realized how much I use the word intentions and how I navigate through the world intentionally. But I was like, wait a second. I was like, I don't know why it's just now I'm making the connection of that being like, holy shit. I say that because I was talking to a friend yesterday and I was like, with Jules and I was like, I'm gonna share with her this thing that I have yet to reveal to her. But it's like Jules and I, the way that we kind of came together, was through my YouTube channel, but we never got to that point of like getting mm, like personal spending time, like as if we were colleagues and like going to school together and things of that sort. It's always kind of been more on this toggle between professional, and I think we're kind of turning that corner a little bit because it's been a while.
Mhm.
But but I described to them, I said, but the thing with Jules in the span of all these years is that there's a similar hunger in her that we have. We both have a hunger that's unseen. And I wanted, yeah, we both have a hunger that's unseen that nobody really knows why. Like we do what we do, but there's something inside of us that's asking us for it to be revealed, for it to be unlocked, for it to be put out into the world. And no one is telling us like, hey, if you don't do that, that thing in there, like, no, you know what I mean? Like, it's something in us, that can't quite describe, because there's not. I think for most people, they already see us like, oh, they got it. They've had a coffee shop. They're launching books. They're doing all these things, but we're like still unsatiated because we know we're not where we know we can be. And so I'm just curious if you want to unpack that a little bit. And maybe I'm misreading it, but I don't think that that is. I guess I want to go into this hunger part. I'm curious if this hunger is even linked to entrepreneurship. Someone who's kind of who is new to this. I'm just curious. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think just even labeling it sometimes as like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like 2024, who isn't an entrepreneur at this
Right.
point? Um, that's why it's becoming so much more important to expand on what do you do and what can you do for me? How are you helping in a different way? And like, what is your motive? It's not so much about like, oh, I have this business and it's gonna like, and it's making like, it's not a numbers thing. Like, all of that matters, obviously, success, all that stuff. You want it to scale, but at the end of the day, this is why I rebranded my company, Coach Jules LLC, which just was a quick name to get an LLC, to Impact Strategy Solutions.
Mm.
And I honestly like it subconsciously came to me, that name, and
Mm.
also with the help of ChatGPT. But
Yes.
but at the same time, like, I guided ChatGPT to like lay out that name, and I'm like, that's the one.
Hmm.
So yes, I was attracted to it. I felt connected to it. But the more I put the logo out, the more I like see the name and I say the name, I'm like, and the more I even just work and present my projects and my product, I always implement subconsciously still like make an impact. It's all about making an impact, laying down another brick for someone to follow your lead. And because maybe they don't have that guide. And that's the thing. Like, and there's a guide for everyone. I'm not saying I'm for everyone. You're not for everyone. Like, I posted about that. Like, not you're not supposed to be liked by everyone because
Hmm.
that would spread us too thin anyway. There's a lot of people in this world who need us, but there's other people like us who can offer in a way that works for their people that gravitate to them. I work for people that gravitate towards me. So it's just understanding that too. It's like not everyone's gonna be your client and not everyone's gonna buy your product. That's okay.
Hmm.
But just making that impact and the purpose of guiding them to a better life, however that looks. Whether it's maybe someone's dream is just to simply get out of a really bad relationship or a relationship that's not working for them because that's what's going to make them still happy and start over and be more step more into like their authentic life and they can be without having this like tie or this like dead weight on them
Hmm.
that they keep hanging around. Or maybe it's something as big as like they want to start a business or an empire and they want to like just go big and that's their dream. Like
Hmm.
making an impact to guide someone to the life they want and dream about is really all it is. And
Yeah.
and doing it in a way that's like very authentic and real. And I think that's where you and I and other people like us can struggle is because we would do this for free.
Hmm.
But because we've made it into our business and our life, it's we can't because we still
Hmm.
have to eat. We still have to put a roof over our head and we don't have anyone doing that for us. But I think that's where we find that struggle is because we can't give it for free. We can give tidbits for free, but we can't hold your hand and expect us to continue living in a very healthy way if we can't like make sure that we're taken care of.
A
That makes
thousand
sense.
percent. No, 1,000%. And I think, and this is a metaphor I use often when I'm with Jules and our other soul sister Christina. Um, Talking about the tribe, like going back to our ancestral days and being like, okay, what is our role in the tribe if we were to take all of this away, this internet away, this video away, whatever the case may be, and the teachers got fed, the elders got fed. You know what I mean? Like, um, you would have to find, I mean, kind of depends on what kind of teacher you want to be. You were probably, not you specifically, but there's some that was on a mountain. You would have to go trek to go find the wise one on the mountain, right? But then you had others who, when the hunters and gatherers went to go hunter and gather, who was taking care of the kids, whatever the case may be. And so I think if we need to reframe, because we need to reframe this for folks who work with us in general. Like, if you scale it back really, you can imagine the people that you were learning, the teachers you were learning from. We had our little teepees, we had our adobe houses, and like the little ones are like bringing food to us, and like when they went to go hunt and gather, like you would bring it back to us because you knew we took care of your kids while you were gone, or whatever the case may be, right? So it's
Yeah.
like we're just now in this world where it's like we're having to trade and do things of that sort, which I think is another thought I want to bring back, that talking about entrepreneurship, because I think there's this tension where when we think of entrepreneurships in the past, we think of like big businesses scaling, it's this big thing. And then we're also at this tension where like everyone's an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Like, man, like you're just saying that. But like, are you just saying that because like, are you making money, or like, are you trading, or are you know what I mean? Like, is it just sexy and you're just saying it? But then I think there's this other version of the entrepreneur where maybe to some extent, if we go back to those days, there's this element that maybe not everyone, but a lot of people are entrepreneurs, right? Like where we did trade and barter. You know what I mean? It's just the difference is now there's this thing called money. We've agreed that this thing has value, right? And so I think that that's what it's evolving to. And I think what you're saying also is like, is that now if that may be the case, that if everyone's an entrepreneur and like that's kind of in our DNA as humans and cave people, I don't know, maybe a little further, maybe 100 years beyond that, but in this aspect of trading, you know what I mean? Like instead of people like us, we're like, you should do that for free, or you should just want to do that for the goodness of your heart. And like the nonprofit's like, no, like if you were to go back, you know what I mean? Like we got fed too. We deserve our wages too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
No, that's 100%. I agree. And I see that a lot within communities within the same industry. The people get together and they trade services.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, they need to get fed too, but that's a way of filling their cup, and just like seeing how people, maybe it's not like a spiritual thing, but maybe it's a more manual labor thing. Because like even me, I am in need of a personal assistant at many times in my life, and it's just not a job that I can put on payroll right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I have other things to offer. So, and I would never let anyone work for me without me giving back. I don't do that. It's just morals. I'm a good human. So I'm not going to take without giving something. And am I an overgiver? Sometimes, probably, but I will never be an overtaker.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that, like, I definitely agree with. We all gotta eat, and there's enough to go around for everyone. It's just like we also got to be realistic that things aren't free. Like you can go to the grocery store and be like, hey, I have this really good tip for you. Can you get my groceries for free?
Right.
Because I didn't get paid today.
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
So,
and I think, yeah, and I'm trying to reframe for, young people who are choosing to work with us, or just people wanting to work with us in general. It's like, everyone needs to be taken care of. It's like, how can we pour back into you if we're not putting the right things into our bodies, and like, again, this regenerative like cycle of giving and receiving, and giving and receiving, giving and receiving. And I say that because I think, yeah, those money beliefs that we get from our parents and our grandparents and things of that sort. So we didn't quite answer the question here, so I'm going to go back really quick. What do you think your grandparents, how do you think they moved the needle forward for their generation? And then how do you think your parents moved the needle forward for your family? And then you already answered how you felt like, but maybe to reiterate
my part. Yeah. So just from observing, really, I think my grandparents were their children. They saw the opportunity of education. That was the big thing. Jobs were changing. There was becoming like more a variety of industries that they were able to get into. And I think, and especially for my culture too, like we also, even though we were from here, America, it doesn't mean anything really. It just my culture is my culture, and we still limit ourselves because we're not at the status of like, a white privileged family or whatnot. So I think my grandparents, where their focus was on like education, that's all you need. Go to school, get a good job, create a family. That's it. That's your success. And then my parents, kind of the same, but also like a little further. So we had more college opportunity. Like being the first to graduate high school for them was a big success. In my generation, being the first to graduate college was the success. So continuing that education. So I know I was pressured to go to college. I was gonna do it anyway, but but like I remember when I wanted to change my major from whatever to whatever, like I was paying for it one, but it was a big deal to my parents. Like, why are you changing your, like, just stick to the one thing. Like, they just wanted me to follow this one path all the way to the end and not seek out other things that I felt more aligned to. So that's where it was starting to be different in the way I think versus how they think, because I see, yes, this is an opportunity to success, but I was looking further. Like, I don't feel like if I reach the end, I'm going to get anything out of it that's going to fulfill me. And I was looking more, I want to be fulfilled. I want to do something meaningful. I don't want to just get by. And so I feel like that's how they change. And then they see like they want you to get in a job too that makes more than what they're making right now. So whether that's a doctor, a lawyer, all those higher end things. And even like being a teacher, like how I wanted to be a teacher, they saw that as my career. But thank God I did not become a teacher because that's not the life for me. And I wouldn't have lasted anyway. So I know that for a fact. So things happened before I was almost done getting my education degree to where I changed my major one more time. I didn't do my student teaching. That's all I had left. I did a life audit and I analyzed my life. And I was like, I am in no position to be at the head of a class of children. I don't care that they're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I was 23, maybe. And I looked at my life and I'm like, I am not the adult. I like, don't ask me questions. And the things that they were saying too, like when I did my volunteer hours for being like the teachers of the or whatever, I would like they would say things, smart ass things, and I'm like I'm like trying not to laugh. I'm like, that was funny though. I was like, okay, I can't. I can't do this. And then also too, like seeing how the education system is, like it makes me want to vomit. I just it breaks my heart to see that not all the kids, there's amazing kids out there learning, but it's just this conversation could go on forever. And it's just there's so many different distractions that they have, primarily this and everything on this, and that's all they care about. And they get so addicted to that they don't have that focus and they don't know how to focus. And a lot of times they don't even have the imagination that children are supposed to have. And that's the biggest thing. And that's why they can't decide on what goals and dreams they have because they don't have a box to think outside of. They're stuck in one box and it's this. Exactly. So it's just, that's another thing that drives me is like I'm catering to, or like my drive is to like help the older generation realize like there's still time. And then also the younger generation, like it doesn't have to be this way. You can be different. You can like learn our ways, learn from us, while at the same time we're also learning from them. Like there's no doubt we're all learning from each other all the time. So it's just a matter of like how do we meet in the middle and see what's the most important thing here.
Yeah. Yeah. So many thoughts on that. And I think what I love what we're doing is it's not about, this is the thing where I think we're moving towards. It's not about, it's always about education, But
Yeah.
the difference is now, and the fun part about it is now it's about self-education. It's like we get to
Yeah.
choose what we want to learn. We get to create the curriculums that we want to learn. You know what I mean? And that's why for me, you talked about this box. Like, that's why I'm creating daily digital decluttering, because I'm just like, I cannot work with students or anyone, students, I don't care how old or young, if we have not got control of this thing, because right now it's in control of us.
Yeah.
And so for me, I would,
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying. I'm first off surprised you made it all the way up to almost a student, like to student teaching. I didn't even get that far. I was like, no, not those kids, not this
Yeah.
time, not with these schools. I was just like, something's different. But I did say, I was like, I know they're on this thing, so I need to meet them on this thing. You know what I mean? But now it's like having a different conversations. Like, how can I meet them on this thing to get them off this thing? You know? And
Exactly.
you're talking about boxes. I was like, well, if you're in Arizona, I'm just kidding. But you were hopping from box to box. But that's real.
Yeah.
We're hopping from our TV to our phone screens, to our TV screens, to our car box, our office box, our building boxes. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I love that you mentioned like the lack of imagination, unfortunately, and again, how we were talking about earlier, the lack of the hope, and the lack of all of these things, because this thing is really has a hold on us, and whether people believe it or not, like coffee and the phone are the two legal drugs that is just slowly seeping into our being. And that's why I really love the work that you do, because one, I know that we've had to slowly adapt you into tech so that you can reach the people that you're meant to reach. But two, I love that you have that holistic approach and that intentions part that we're talking about. I want to go back a little bit, because I want whoever you're supposed to guide, I want them to know more about who you are, and in terms of just even being a little young Jules. You know what I mean? Because I want to know, like, when I played with this girl on the playground, I probably would have wild. I probably was a little too wild for you. But I think we have some activities in common. So I want to know more about her, because I want to know more about the transformation of like, has she always been this person? Obviously you haven't been, but is there a common thread? And then also, like, again, when those thoughts of like percolation of like, oh, I wonder what it's like to do my own thing. And then I want us to get to back to 2015. Can you do that for us?
Yeah.
All right.
Because what I realized, my coffee's done. Let's go.
Not mine,
let's
so I'm gonna
let's
drink
time
some.
travel.
Yes.
Okay, let's time travel. Yeah. So what I've realized in the process of unbecoming to become who I am now, I have realized, like, I think you have said before, I've heard it somewhere, that we don't necessarily change, we just discover the pieces of us that never leave and kind of evolve through that. Like, those are the roots in us, and we just kind of like allow other things to fulfill that and feed those seeds to help us bloom the way we're supposed to bloom. And so, like, looking back in my childhood, comparing what I'm interested in now and how, like, I have this attachment to like earth and spiritual things and crystals, and I'm not like a whiz at like crystal knowledge and stuff and astrology. I wish I could be. I can be if I study hard enough, but the attraction is what I was kind of comparing. So when I was a kid, I loved being in nature. And I remember in middle school, I went on this like camping trip, cabin trip for my biotechnology class. Sounds fancy, but I don't know what it was. But science isn't my thing. But we were out in like the woods, and I remember, I was in seventh grade, eighth grade, and there's inevitable drama in your life within. And I think I was just having maybe a friendship situation. So I would go off in the morning, and I found a creek, and I had my little like sketchbook or notebook or whatever. So I would sit by the creek. I started sketching the trees and writing. I was a writer then too. I would write poetry and stuff. And I would just write my feelings. Like, it's always been my outlet to cope. And then I realized it like in my adulthood, this season of my life, I was meditating, and I was finding my own therapy, my own coping mechanism. I was figuring it out on my own, and like how to pour back into me and release something that shouldn't have been there, that I allowed from an external party. So that was like one thing. And like I still love nature. I will still go hiking. I realized like I need a good hike when there's something I really can't meditate through or write through. I need like the physical, mental, and spiritual challenge all in one, and that's hiking for me. I don't hike. I don't like cardio, so I'll do the hike. I'm That's the physical challenge, and then the mental is pushing through to get past those physical challenges. And then when I get to the top, it's the spiritual where I meditate and I take it all in and I connect with earth and nature and just look over the city and think about like all the people, like why are they hiking? And then just all allow my thoughts to do what they do. And then another thing is when I was a kid, we would always go shopping for gifts. And there's this one store that had a lot of like little figurines and stuff. And I was always attracted, and I did buy these as gifts, to amethyst figurines. I didn't know it was amethyst at the time, but I have one too from back in the day from the 90s when I bought it for my mom. I found it at like my dad's house or something and I took it because I'm like, I know why I got this. I know now because I was just attracted to that. Like I would always collect rock. I would always like look at the crazy crystals, like, and then obviously look at the sky, the moon, like everything. So it was just it was just wild to see that. And then I think with the writing too, like I've always been a writer. And even through high school, I would write poetry just to cope with my emotions and the hardships that I was going through. And looking back at the poetry now, I'm like, this girl should have also been in therapy, but we made it through because also that also ties into the culture. Like we weren't taught to be open and speak up about our feelings and our problems and all that stuff. So I had writing, and I would also do art too in high school. I would just like doodle just on my own, and I was getting good, but it wasn't my like that's not my profession. That's not what I was meant to do forever. It's just something I do for relief.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, those are just a couple of things from the childhood that I compare to now. And I think through my adulthood too, through my messy adulthood, I should say, my young adulthood, it was it was kind of similar, I guess, like that. I would still write, but then I started singing again. And I say again because I was always into singing when I was a kid. I was in choir all through grade school and a little bit of middle school. Yeah, it's exactly. It's always a shock when I tell people, "Oh yeah, I always say I used to sing." They're like, "What do you mean you used to sing? Like if you used to sing, you should still sing, right?" And I'm like, "Not for you." So that's why I just like it's like that hidden talent that I keep hidden intentionally because of childhood. Not I want to say traumas, but events that slowly caused me to shut my voice off. And even though I still sang after like being told not to or like to shut up, whatever, um, I still like tried out for honor choir in fifth grade on my own. Just I wanted to sing. So and I made it. So and then I think in my early adulthood, like early 20s, I got the urge to try to find my voice again, my singing voice. And I started asking my friends who are musicians, like, hey, can you guys help me with this? Like, I have some songs that I like to cover. Can you play them for me so I can sing? But I could never do it sober. And that was during my season of like partying all the time too. So like I had no problem drinking for a jam session. And so we would do that. We would get together and be like, yeah, come over. I'll buy us some beer, like some snacks. We'll go over some songs and just have a good time. But I found my voice and I I accepted that like I was a really good singer and I was kind of like also ashamed that I never allowed myself to continue pushing that voice out and finding it in my earlier childhood and teen years or whatever. So, and I still like to sing. It's still one of those things like I don't feel comfortable doing in front of people unless I'm like in my zone and I know that they might be listening, but I don't want to see that they're listening.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like, I think that gave us such
yeah.
I love that you made those connections from being a younger version of yourself to now. And I think that's another thing to highlight is the self-awareness. You know what I mean? Like the self-education, the self-awareness. Um, because I think that is something that we all struggle with. You know what I mean? But what I love, the connection here again is the journaling part. You know what I mean? Like to find those practices that allow us to step out of what's actually happening. You know what I mean? And so I say that because again, finding yet another similarity of like what got us through those hard times, you know? And okay, the lack of similarity. No, I wasn't a singer, y'all. No, I can't play no instruments. No, I can't, whatever the case. So that's super awesome to hear. Do you think that that's something that might unravel some more in the future?
I think so. I think it still has the potential to. It's just who I find to help guide that part because that's something that I can probably do on my own, yes, but I could do it faster
Court.
with a guide.
Yes, we
That's
love.
that's the whole point of mentors, coaches,
Yes.
consultants, like all that stuff. It's like, yes, we can do it on our own, but you don't have to. And you can seek out that person that can take your hands and guide you your way. And that's what I've been told about like my approach and how I coach and how I like move is that I always meet people where they're at. I'm not going to say that my strategy it's a one size fits all because it's not. Like I know some people might that's their marketing tactic. Like this is going to guarantee you. And maybe there's certain things I can, I don't know, but my strategy is to always take a look at their overall life. Like, what does your day to day life look like? And I help fill in those gaps as far as, like, okay, well, when you're binging Netflix, your favorite show for 3 hours a day, you could be working on your business. Like, maybe minimize over time. You don't have to give it a cold turkey if you can't, but there's just a lot of gaps in our lives that we don't realize or take the time to notice that we're wasting it when we could be fulfilling it with what we really want to do or what we where we really want to go, taking those actions.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that and then I also let them know like also be realistic that this isn't going to be a stamp to make it permanent. Like this isn't the routine every week, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Things are you're gonna have to learn to pivot. So that's like another tool that you need to know. Like how do you navigate when you get unexpected things thrown at you, or maybe it's like a really busy month with birthdays, and now you have all these family and friend events. Like how do you pivot your priorities to stay on track and not give up and give in to like this is too hard, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've noticed is like I'm very realistic with how I work.
And I think something to note is that it's hard and it's not. Um, I think again we have to acknowledge like just the time and what it means to be human today. We're living through a time that I mean this is probably like the second renaissance or something like that, you know? So it's like we're going through so many changes as humanity that like yes, it's hard. Like there's things coming at us from all angles all the time, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I think what Jules and I are trying to say is like we're also in control too. Like literally to be honest, we can eliminate half of the thoughts, feelings, emotions if we just have some boundaries around our phone. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. I think a lot of times people are like, just get rid of it altogether, like going cold turkey. And you can, you know, but like, we also have to accept the fact that it's here, it's going to stay here. And like, we just have to have some tools, habits, and resources on how to navigate it, you know? But it's like, so yes, it's difficult, you know, but also at the same time, it really can be that easy in the sense of deciding and taking action right now. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I've always admired and want to continue to adopt from you is like, just do it now. You know what I mean? Like, just do it now. There's no excuses, like, you know, whatever the case may be, because people didn't have to deal with this phone thing, you know what I mean, so many years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So the way that they were making moves, they were like, no, well, what else is there to do? Well, now it's like, well, what else is there to do? Just scroll. You know what I mean? So it's like those moments of
Yeah.
boredom, those breaths in between life, you know, like we're having to find our way to regain that back. And again, that's what I really love about your approach, where it's like, let's look at your life holistically And then literally, I think the easiest thing to identify is like, where's all your screen time going? And then just do what you actually want to freaking do with the screen time.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But your
Yeah.
mind is so boggled down with everything you've just inputted in your mind that it's probably confused now, because now you're listening to other entrepreneurs, or you're listening to other, how other people are living their lives and things of that sort. So yeah, I love that. I want to go into 2015. So we're fast forwarding. This little girl,
Okay.
journaling, naturing, cute, and now it's showing up in your daily life. I want to see how it's showing up in your daily life. We went through college. Y'all heard in her bio, went to ASU, was going to be a teacher, and then you got your degree
In English.
in English. Yes, you did. And then, but there was these moments where, like, what is it like to start things, and do things for yourself, right? And so then this is when
Yeah.
you started coming up with Pop Chic, right? But
Yeah.
where does caffeine suckers fall into this?
That was a hobby. That was just like, so that started
Before or
in
after?
2012.
Okay. Thank you.
Before. So Caffeine Suckers started in 2012. I created it because on Instagram. It's still active, so if you guys want to follow, like, by all means, I still post every now and then. But Caffeine Suckers started in 2012 because that was like where I really started diving into the local coffee shop scene throughout college, because I was always, doing homework or studying or whatever. So I drink a lot more coffee than the average human being. And I don't anymore. I don't think. But I think we would take pictures of and this was probably the beginning, like,
Instagram.
I don't know, but we would take pictures of our coffee drinks, and even caffeine. It was just all caffeine. So there's tea, there's energy drinks, there's like all kinds of things, and you can see the evolution of it from 2012 to now. It's not pretty. 2012.
Instagram
But
2012, y'all. I just want you to remember, we took pictures of our food. We still do, but
we still do, yeah.
but we put it on our stories.
It wasn't pretty.
No.
But so originally Caffeine Suckers had about, I want to say, like 7 of us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It started out with like me and my sisters, my sister's sister-in-law, and a few other people. Just all of us, like, we're always sending pictures of our coffee and caffeine. So I'm like, hey guys, here's the login. Let's all just share our posts on one profile. So over time it started fading because people weren't contributing. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So me and my 2 sisters were mostly posting, but then after a while my oldest sister got off, and then it just became me and my other sister Serena, which we were always like really close from like mid high school and then up until now, and we hung out all the time. So like we're always going coffee adventures. So we started this, and it was kind of our blogging way. We did giveaways, so we were creating community with it. And this was all just for fun. Like, I wasn't trying to do anything big, like how things are now with influencers and all that stuff, and like bloggers. It's a thing now, but we were doing it in 2012, and I realized that I was like, what the hell? I was like, we've been doing this longer than a lot of other people. Like, we should have more assets. But anyway, so yeah, that's where that started. And after that, so like that was 2012. We kept it. I'm just like pulling up. We even did like, I don't know if you can see all of the things. So that's some of them. We created this Chai Day Friday, is where we would get chai every Friday. It was just a little thing, again, to create community. And so when I started my coffee shop with my mom, I implemented Chai Day Friday and gave a discount on chai. I'm like, this has to be a thing. Like, why not? So that was 2012, and then 2013 I graduated. I was in corporate for a year before I decided I had to leave because I wasn't doing anything with my degree like most graduates in weird field like that. So I knew that if I didn't, kind of like what I did recently, like if I didn't light a fire under my ass and just leave something that I was comfortable in, I would have never moved. I would have got complacent. And I remember I applied for a manager position in that company because I was there for 7.5 years. I'm like, I know how to do this, so I can be a manager. I didn't get the job and I was bummed, but after processing like over time, I was like, I didn't get the job for this reason. If I would have got a manager position, I probably would have stayed there another 7.5 years, if not longer. Who knows? And I don't want to know. Like, I'm glad I quit. And everyone asking me, like, oh, so what's your job gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do now? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just gonna hang out. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. So I quit in 2014 in December, and I was just like figuring it out. And I always wanted to write and publish a book, and I've always wanted to be a business owner. And going back to my childhood, I've always wanted to just do whatever I want. you know, just a brat. So it's always been within me. Like, don't tell me what to do. I'm gonna do whatever I want in a good way most times. But so I did that. 2015, I was starting my well, going back 2012, I started my self-development journey and growing, self-educating, all this stuff, discovering who I am, what I like, and where I want to be. So 2015, I wanted to implement that journey along with everything that I love doing. So my art, my photography, my writing. I added a blog on my website, and then also my overall wrap it up. Like, this is just a message to have everyone realize the power of perception, and how you perceive life is how life is. And that you have the power to change your perception on life if you want to see it differently. Like, it's the power of perception, but also the power of decision, the power of the decision you make that you want to see life differently and live life differently. So that was the whole purpose about it. Created a logo, was real into like the Hamsa hand symbol, which I actually got tattooed on me. How do I do this? So the Hamsa symbol became a really, really big symbol in my life. Around that time, I would wear it in jewelry all the time. I was just like, whatever. But I got this tattoo in like 2018 or 19. I don't remember. 2018 maybe. I don't know. But it's still a staple in my life. And it's just about like, that's when I was like diving into the spiritual journey too. So 2015, I start this business. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to make money off of it. Authors don't make money unless you like market the crap out of your books, and you don't make money off the books. It's about the publicity and who pays you to like attend certain things. So it takes time to get money, or different approach, I guess. But I wrote because I loved it and I had a message to share. And then I went back to corporate because I needed to make money, and that wasn't it. So went back to corporate, still tried to maintain that business, but I again didn't know what I was doing, and I was doing it alone. So it eventually faded. But then months later in 2016 spring, me and my mom started talking about the coffee shop business again. So and we had been planning like within like 3 years before that. So since like 2013, 12, we had been planning already. So 2016 comes, we start planning again. We realize we don't have any more planning to do. We just need to find a place and money to pay for it. So that happened within like a 2-month span. We locked in a lease at a location, and that same summer, 2016, is when we opened Breeze Co. And by November, I think the end of the year of 2016, I quit my job. Oh no, I switched jobs. And I worked part-time, and then I studied for personal training so I could have that as my income, because I was so tired of working for people. So once I was like getting ready to test, months before I was testing for the personal training, I quit the corporate job again and got my certification, started racking clients, and was working personal training while managing and running the coffee shop. So that was like 2014 to 16.
Wow. And what was happening
Yeah.
in 2016?
2016 was like just really building up the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And I think 2017 is when I really learned how to like manage the coffee shop and also building clients learning that service business
Mm-hmm.
of how to coach.
Mm.
And then through personal training, I realized, even through my own testimonial, like physical fitness transformation is not just a physical transformation. Your mind has to be on the same path. And I would post things too during my fitness journey, like worked out the mind, now time to work out or worked out the body, now time to work out the mind. So I'd post my protein shake next to a book with a highlighter of like whatever I was reading at that time. So I've constantly been tying the two together, fit mind, fit body. And that started molding into my personal training business, the Fit Mind, Fit Body Co., to where I created fitness programs called Fit Mind, Fit Body, and hashtag it stays less stiff body. Um, but it's always been like mindset for me first. And that's what I realized just from my own experience. So, and I got those testimonials too from clients. Like I helped them through their physical transformation. What are your physical goals? And this is what we do. But then naturally they would tell me like how, and I told them, like, first thing I notice in someone's transformation physically when I would train them, or even if they're on their own, is how they fit there, and how, like in pictures, you can see it in how, like, this is how they were before, this is how they are after. It's all about the posture, and the posture is the confidence. And the next thing I notice is the eyes in their smile. So before pictures, eyes are usually droopy, maybe like a fake smile. The after, or like in between progress stuff, is eyes are lit and the smile is like more present. So it's all about like your smile is going to be different when you're hunched, and your smile is going to be different when you're up. So those were the biggest things, and that pushed them to like work more on their mind. Yeah. And so that's what I discovered with Christina too yesterday when we were working. Like, I'm so big on mindset in everything I do, because there's no way you can accomplish something if you're not in the right state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way you will be 100% fulfilled with how you're living if you're not truly taking care of your mind
Yeah.
and how you think and how you see and feel and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So power of perception is still like a motto of mine, and it may not be a company that I still put into, but it exists.
Yeah. And I think something about perspective, like just perception, perspective. And again, just kind of throwing some gems out here, y'all. When things happen to us, besides the fact that they're happening for us, but it's just an event. And when something happens, like this event is happening right now, and we have how I'm viewing it, how Jules is viewing it, and how the audience is viewing it. It's happening. This is the event. But in my mind, I'm sure I'm like, oh, I need to make sure I touch into this, I need to touch into this. But then I'm also like, let me drop in and be present, right? And then Jules is like, let me make sure I don't forget this or that, but also be like, let me be present, and then you all are probably kind
Yeah.
of feeling the same thing. You're like, okay, I'm watching this interview, but my phone's going off and the kids are crying and the dog's barking. And um, I think the biggest thing there, talking about that mindset part, and I just have to say this, y'all, because this is what I've noticed, and where we're losing the battle right now is that when we wake up first thing in the morning, I'm sure Jules can attest to this. Jules, when do you roll over and look at your phone? And do you like what's your morning like before you open up some tech in the morning? What's that routine look like?
So I've implemented the rule in my daily morning routine to yes, I have my phone because it's my alarm, but I changed uh the brightness mode to like it's easier on your eyes, whatever it's called. I changed that. I put brightness all the way to low, and then it always stays on silent. And then my first thing, the only reason I grab my phone in the morning is to put on a meditation. And that's the first thing I do, is listen to my meditation in the morning, whether it's 5 minutes or 45 minutes. As long as I do meditation first thing, that's all that matters. And then once I'm done with that, I put my phone on the nightstand. I get ready to go brush my teeth, do my thing, take the dog out. And once I'm ready to go to the kitchen, like I still really try. Yes, there's times that I'll like do a little scrolling, not perfect. But overall, the routine is I don't dive into anything. I don't answer emails. I don't answer text messages, like whatever. I don't check any work or scroll until I'm like gonna clock in for that. So I get my coffee. Cheers. So I like after I take the dog outside, I take my phone still to the kitchen, but I'm making coffee, and then when I get my coffee, I sit down and journal in my intentions journal for like my affirmations, my daily gratitude, and going over the priority task for the day. So that's how I set the tone. And all of this really is, it sounds like a lot, but it's from anywhere between like 15 to 20 minutes to maybe 30, depending on how long I want to take. And when I journal, like that doesn't even take 5 minutes, that first part. Once I'm done with that, like depending on the day, I'll sit down and read. I'll put some good music on and I'll sit down and read with my coffee for the rest of the sipping coffee enjoyment. And then once I do that, like I just kind of figure out like if I have to go to my office to work or if I have to go meet someone, like it's different.
Yeah.
But so the point is I don't allow myself to do any, I don't let this start my
That
day.
part.
I let me start my day.
Yeah, and I wanted to just highlight that to y'all because that's what I've noticed. Like, this is, I think, one of the game changer habits that if we can get in control of this and realize that we are in control of the device, not the device in control of you, but let's be real. And let's be real, some of y'all be going to your jobs, and that's the first bill you pay before the bill of, like, with the roof over your head. And that's something we need to talk about later down the line. But what I've noticed, and I know for myself, and I knew Jules was gonna tap on this, is like the moment we roll over and we start checking our phones, you have you have given the world access to you. You know what I mean? Like you let them start drawing away from you your attention, your thoughts, your minds, your processes, whatever the case. I've gotten to the point where my morning routine is has its similarities, but for me it's like I've now made the mindset like I need to cover my day. You know what I mean? Like I need to cover my day with how I would want it to feel, look, and be before I let anyone else tell me it is. And I can tell now that if I don't cover my day with my daily devotional, with my praise and worships and stuff, and like my meditation, I was like, not that that day is not going to go well, but I have to even be more in tune to the present. And I say this, and I have this one sticky note that I wrote down, and it talks about I want to kind of put the perspective and the idea like you need to put your helmet on. You know what I mean? Like put your helmet on before we allow anything into our ears and we allow anything into our minds. And so there's this one passage in the Bible. It talks about like having your armor. Like you have to. I mean, you have to kind of think about it, y'all. We are going out into battle to some extent, and it's not battle with others. I think that's what the world wants us to think. It's going into battle with ourselves. You know what I mean? And our mindsets that have been cultivated. And so it talks about like standing your ground and to wear the belt of truth, the body armor of righteousness, shoes for peace of the good news, hold up a shield of faith, salvation as your helmet, and the sword of the spirit, which is the word of God. So like for me, I'm just like, put on your helmet, y'all. Put on your belt. Like you about to go out here, and they're trying to like take us from ourselves. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm just like, if you don't have this morning routine like Jules has, and like I'll share later on, like of course we're gonna lose a battle going into the day. You stub your toe, worst day ever. I was like, someone cut you off, worst day ever. You didn't get your coffee, worst day ever. But like, is
You,
it?
yeah, is it? Yeah.
Perception.
No, I know. I
What you gotta
know.
say?
It's a process though too. Like I understand people are still gonna struggle and get frustrated and have off days, not bad days. I need off days, off moments.
Moments.
I like to rephrase things. It's not you start the day with an off moment. It doesn't make it an off
That
day.
part.
Just understand like sometimes stubbing your toe, dropping your keys, spilling the coffee, like all of that can be happening because maybe you're moving too
Mm-hmm.
fast. Or maybe it's the universe or someone taking care of you because you had to slow down because something bad is happening out there to protect
Mm-hmm.
you. I'm a firm believer in that. So like don't think like, why is this happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why could I just get it together? Just that take that moment to like collect yourself and just no matter. Let's just move a little slower, grab my things a little more consciously, not try to do everything at once, and continue on to your
Mm-hmm.
days and expect that something great is going to happen now. Like, it's all about perspective and mindset. And yeah,
And
how you speak.
that part, the language that we use. I made a whole video on imposter syndrome the other day. I was like, stop using that word. Like the
Yeah.
alternative is
It's just,
phenomenon,
yeah.
right? It's like, oh, phenomenon. First off, can I
Yeah.
spell that? Second off, what do you mean? Y'all can watch that. You can watch that another time. But the last thing I want to note before
Yeah.
we jump into your coaching business now, and where you're at, and also we do have a little bit of tidbit of some reality of what the entrepreneur journey is like. Um, is when we get bumped into, when we drop our keys, we drop our phone, people cut us off. When we get bumped into, what spills out? So that's the real question. It's like, what are we putting into ourselves? And like what's really deep seated in our heart. So when your edges are getting rubbed up against and you get bumped into, what's the spillage? What are you spilling out? You know what I mean? Like, is it some nasty spoiled milk, or is it some glitter and butterflies on the butterflies? You know what I mean? And like, I'm not saying it's supposed to always be like
Yeah.
that, but like, that's how intentional we have to be, right? Like intentional about
Yeah.
what we're allowing into ourselves, and the easiest gateway that gets into us is in our minds and our ears, y'all. So it's like what's deep seating in our hearts, like that's what's gonna spill out when we get bumped. So just something, a challenge maybe to consider, like, and when you see people getting bumped into, when you're getting bumped into, maybe it's a reality check to be like, I should probably putting some better things into this vessel so that when I get bumped into again, something a little bit more pleasant's gonna come out. Maybe it's gonna be a try. Ooh,
Yeah.
that was a good day because it is Friday. All right, Jules, bring us faster. See, I knew it. I was like, Jules and I are gonna be out here teaching y'all, so you don't want us in the same classroom. You either go with Jules or you go with me, depending on what you need for.
It's gonna be like a whole ass retreat.
Soon, y'all.
Hey,
Soon.
it's on my list. I've always wanted to do a retreat.
Yes, it is on the lists of lists.
Yeah.
So bring us to where you're at now. You talked about strategy solutions, things of that sort. Just to be clear with folks, like what is it that you're offering, and how you're wanting to be of service to the world, and how you're raising your hand. I think the biggest thing, y'all, is to realize that we're in business and we're raising our hands because we want to be of service. We need to get paid. But also it's like, I know that there's people looking for us. So what is it that you're offering, and what kinds of people are you raising your flag for them to see you?
So through this author collaboration that I'm doing, it has brought light to like what direction I'm going in with my coaching. And it's to help women who want to write their story, their nonfiction story, whether it's the whole story or a piece of it, and making sure I can help them believe, like, whether you're a writer or a non-writer, that you still belong in this space. So with this author collab, for context, I have created a system and a way of allowing these women to get vulnerable and find their authentic voice and courageously share a piece of their story. And I've lined up the reality that this is more than just a writing process, and it's an emotional and mental process as well. So that's where I touch on the mindset and how to navigate through that. So prior to them even putting one word in their chapter, even starting their outline, I prepared them for what was to come and what was to be expected, as far as like, when you're writing something very personal to you, you're going to have emotional breakdowns because you're reliving the past. But the key to understand is you're reliving the past as a completely different person. So it makes it a little more challenging because you're looking at your past and maybe it's something really, traumatic, to where you start feeling disappointment and shame and guilt because you can't believe you allowed that to actually happen in your life. And it almost seems unreal that this actually was your life. But the positive side and light of it is like, are you that person today? Did you make it out? Did you do something for yourself to understand that, like, that is not your life? So you changed your life, and you changed how you move in life, and you changed what you do, how you think, what you read, what you listen to, and all that stuff. You changed your boundaries, like you totally recreated, so you don't have that life anymore. And that's the breakthrough. That's where you realize in your writing process, like, that's why you're writing the stories, because if you can get through that, and if you can go through that, it's happening to someone else out there. and they need to know that they're not alone and that it's not the end. So that's what I've learned in my coaching, and that's what I'm really focusing on right now on my coaching, is to take on writers and non-writers who want to write their story. And even if they don't want to publish it, the power of writing it, regardless, is going to help you so much just to move a little differently in life and move a little faster into the position that you want to be in and fill your full potential. So coaching writers and non-writers and helping them discover their story and craft it and just pour it out. Like there's a whole process to this. And I'm working on a course as well, because some people can't be present for the coaching aspect of it and all of that, but maybe they do want to still grab all that information. So I'm working on a course to be able to provide that, to where it's not so much pressure for timeline and they get to work at their own pace.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much for 3 reasons. 1, I love that you're bringing us back to a practice that will never go away. Writing is so healing, y'all. You can text and type all you want and it's faster and all these things, but there's just something there's power in pen to paper. And when I think about folks back in the day when they had the feathers and the calligraphy, like that was a part of it, y'all. So I love that you're putting an offer out there that really allows us to slow us down. 1. Number 2, I love, love, love that whether it's very specifically for women or not, recognizing that I'm sure who gravitates towards you is going to be women and those who come from immigrant families and, folks of color. And recognizing culturally, y'all, like I know from my experience, we're told to like, shh, be quiet. Don't say anything. Don't tell your story. Don't speak up. Don't
cry.
Don't cause any problems, all these things, but make sure you cook and clean and take care of everybody else at the same time. And so there's so much in all of that. And so again, recognizing Jules and myself being in the generation of the older and the younger, like just that, again, that power of writing, so powerful and potent as it is for humans, but at the same time, like, what would it look like for the older generation to write their story? What would it look for the younger generation to write their story instead of putting it on their phones or, it being skewed by social media? Like, so powerful. And the last thing I love about this is that, again, the connection from your younger self, and how it was a practice, but also, again, this finding of your voice, this revealing of your voice, this it's this permission for you to share what you've always wanted to say and for you to write and for, you know what I mean? Like seems like such an ode to that younger version of yourself and being like, yes, girl, you still have something to say. You still have something to sing. Y'all, I'm still waiting on the day. I have been interviewing this girl for a long time and I've yet to get a song snippet. But the day I do, that's going to be freaking recorded.
That'd be fun.
Yes, that would be fun. I mean, hello. You know what? Hello. Me, you, and Christina should have put on a show one day because you both sing.
Maybe when we go out to California, we can go to karaoke.
Yes, or find some dive bars or something. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Something.
But yeah, so I really love those 3 things, and I think it's incredible. I think this is something that's going to be worth every penny. So buy her course, y'all. But beyond all that, right? Like this is again, we're going back to that self-awareness. We're going back to that self-education. You're finding us in these streets where we're trying to create what it means to be in a classroom setting, not in the educational system. So like this is the new world we're moving into, y'all. You get to choose your guides, you get to choose your mentors, you get to choose who you want to learn from. And that's why I think these conversations are so important. And it's so important for us to see like, hey, this is who Jules is. If she resonates with you, like let her guide you. You know what I mean? And if not, then find somebody else, but like also pay us. Anyways, any other last thoughts before I finally reveal what I'm going to show you?
I do want to share that the biggest thing I'm working on right now, and it's long overdue, but again, all in divine timing, it is unfolding in its own time, is that I just started an ambassador program for the Intentions Journal. And gave the Intentions Journal its own identity on Instagram. So that's also linked in my Instagram, in my bio, and the ambassador application program that's open for anyone to apply. And it's really going to be a game changer because I have attached to this Intentions Journal since I published it, but the process developed over time prior to me thinking like, hey, I never had the intention to create a journal. So it just kind of like one of those things felt aligned within me and I had to put it out there. So I did. And it belongs, like, it needs to have more exposure. And that's the purpose of the ambassador program. I have a lot of people that believe in it and live by it. And I just want it to be shared with more people. So just, the power of creating that tribe and that village to put something impactful out.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm excited to see more of that.
Yeah,
I would say
me
just to
too.
touch base one more thing on entrepreneurship because I should be like, we should probably talk about that a little bit more. For someone who has been and is a serial entrepreneur, what are three things if someone's considering to become an entrepreneur? Three things, whether it's tactical, whether it's mindset, whether it's perspective shift. Um, what would you say to the folks who are watching and listening?
Really find what fuels you and what feels aligned without being distracted. Like we said, there's all kinds of things on the internet and especially on Instagram too. It's like, hey, make money fast, quit your 9 to 5, do this instead. But we got the tools. Like, yeah, if you're looking for an easy way out and you feel called to do that, go that path. But just be honest with yourself, understand the reasons why you want to be an entrepreneur, which a lot of people it's for the freedom. And another thing too is understand that pivots are going to happen, whether it's chosen or unchosen. And if it's unchosen, usually that's because you're not meant to do that. Whether it's redirecting you to a different path or maybe you discover something while doing one thing that this is better, which is something that I am open to receiving every time I am like, oh, wait, maybe actually this is what I'm supposed to focus on. It's okay to keep changing. And third is to never focus on people's opinion ever. And also that ties into that is people's lack of support that you expect to support you. Because that I've heard from even people more well known. It's the same, it's a common, not issue, it's a common thing that happens. Because I'm not going to say it's a problem because it's not a problem unless you make it one. So understand that like the people you think are going to most support you may or may not. And you can't take it personal because if you're called to do something and you really believe in it, then you need to do it and not like no one else is going to do it for you. And no one's going to want it more than you do. So focus on that.
I love that. I love that. And last but not least, what is your definition of an entrepreneur?
Honestly, a hot mess.
Okay, I'll take it. I'm just kidding.
So, honest, that's a good one. To me, it's just, I feel that entrepreneurship is creating something from the ground up and having control over how it moves. Like it's a part of you and it's a reflection of you. And it's just what you bring to the world and how you pour into others. That's what I feel it is or should be. Sure, Webster thinks differently and other people think differently.
Yeah.
But
And I think that's what I was talking about earlier. I think the three perceptions of entrepreneur that I described earlier, like a lot of times we think it's a lot of money or it's get rich quick or whatever the case. Then there's this other part where it's like, oh, it's just like all about business or whatever the case. I can't remember what I said, but then the last one, it's like it's being of service. It's something that like it's wanting to come out of us and like there's no other person that can do it besides ourselves and kind of being like, well, maybe everybody is a little bit of an entrepreneur to some extent, and or the second one was like, oh, it's a super sexy thing that we just kind of throw in our link in bio, but like what does that mean, so I love that I asked that question because I was like, I need some clarification because I think we are in a redefining of what an entrepreneur looks like. So I appreciate you for sharing that definition. So Before we tell them where they can find you and all these things, and we're also going to tell them more about how they can work with you. We're also going to tell them more how they can work with us together if that's something that they're interested in. But I am going to show you the thing that I have been withholding this whole time. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Because you didn't have a choice.
What did we create?
Oh, it's what we've created many times before, right? Oh, can you see it? Can you see it?
Oh my
Oh
god.
my
Yeah.
gosh. So tell them what's going on in this picture, Jules.
Well, we're definitely having
Yeah,
coffee.
we are. And
Yeah,
we're
this
like
is
10
the
pounds
interview.
heavier. Jeez Louise. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a little bit. I was on my fitness journey
Okay.
though.
And I hadn't even started yet. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a songbird. This was our interview for what's it called? Phoenix Rising?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our first interview about why caffeine stuck us with here.
Mm-hmm. And do you know what year this was?
I don't know. Oh, I see it now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
December 2015?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I have been
Interesting.
capturing your story, Jules. How many interviews have we done so far?
Oh my god, I don't know.
That's why, y'all. I just want you to know,
I
this
don't
is
know
a
anymore.
special interview because this is our first interview together. Jules, I've been interviewing you for almost a decade.
Years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want some old ass
Wow.
content, y'all, go to my old YouTube channel and see that this ain't nothing new. I've been doing this, and Jules has been doing this. You know what I mean? So capturing stories, connecting the dots. So I wanted to connect this dot. Like, wow, we do have another interview that I have from our Instagram live. It was from Leading the Pack, if you remember. But yeah, and I think that's what I'm like also wanting to connect for us and realizing like there's this, what I've loved and appreciated about you is that when I look over at you, I love that I'm looking over at you and even still a couple of steps ahead, and I'm being like, it just feels so good to not do the journey alone. And I know that that's something that we've talked about often, about how like we often feel alone in our journeys, and it's odd because like our families are supportive, but they know that we're kind of on our own journey and that they couldn't help even if they wanted to, unless like, hey, if I need to come home from a home cooked meal, yes, you can provide and I will receive, but
Exactly.
yeah, that's what I love about our story thus far and where we're going. And I feel like honestly we're just getting started. We're just getting started. And so, speaking of that, y'all, as you know, that this isn't the people that we like to surround ourselves with is the people we like to surround ourselves with is very intentional. And so if you feel like that's something that you're interested in, if you like what I'm about, if you like what Jules is about, we are actually creating a mastermind offer for underrepresented folks who are in their first 3 years of business. I'm in my first month of trying to do this, and so I love with Jules, it's just like, this is my 7th time, and like again we bring a variety of experiences to this circle. And then we have our other sister, Christina, and she has been doing it for how long now? Probably in her first
I'm
year.
not sure.
Probably in her first year right now, but
I think she is in her first year.
And so what we're trying to do in terms of this mastermind offer is that if you know what a mastermind is, it's basically you're just bringing like one person alone. Like, yeah, our brains are okay, we're not too bad, but what does it look like to bring different aspects of the brain together, of people who really are in their zone of genius? And so as you've heard with Jules, her zone of genius, what would you say your zone of genius is, Jules?
Just strategizing. Trying to organize the puzzle pieces.
And like the accountability. I've never worked with Jules personally because I would hate to let her down. So you're paying for accountability, y'all. That's really what it's at. And then we have Christina, whose zone of genius is like systems and processes. And then for myself, I feel like I'm more in the marketing, content creation, and advertising and ideation and that stuff. And also this kind of thing, right? And like really grabbing people's stories and bringing community together. So there's other parts of the business that we're looking for, so there's folks who are in finance, right? What else? What other people were we looking for, Jules?
For marketing,
community building.
Community building, yes. Strategy,
leadership.
Yeah. And
sales. Oh my goodness,
remember
sales.
Yeah,
Oh,
sales. A lot's happened since that conversation.
I mean, I think for folks who really are out here coming from with an educator's heart, it's hard to sell, right? It's like, oh, this is a little weird, but that's the world we live in. But anyways, what we're trying to say is if you're in your first 3 years of business and you're wanting to be in community and you're wanting to be held accountable, and you don't want to do it alone, we are putting out an offer to join our mastermind. And so if that's something that you're interested in, please feel free to reach out to myself, Jules. You'll get to know Christina very soon. And yeah, just know that we're not here to do anything that isn't going to be helpful for each other. We're really just trying to come together because we know that we're better together. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out to us. But if you are interested in Jules's offer in, what are we calling it now? You gave it a whole new name, the Unveiling.
So that's the book name for the author collaboration project, but overall it's a 90 days to publish program.
Yes. Love that. So if you want to learn more about that with Jules, how can they get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
Easiest way is to follow me on Instagram at Jules Arballo, and that's JulesArballo. It'll be tagged though. Just follow me there, shoot me DMs, whatever you need. Everything you need on there, so especially me.
Yeah, that part. Any last words? Any last thoughts? Anything you want to say to that little girl in the nature? Oh, how cute is she?
Don't be scared. Honestly, like that's the biggest thing is the fear, fear of whatever it is. And I know I said this in our call yesterday that I was going to battle and like just trying to shut down or like quiet the distraction. And then your assumption was immediately it was an external distraction. But I was talking about my internal distractions and my thoughts. So learning to gather your tools that you need in order to navigate through this journey, whether it's life, entrepreneurship, whatever, it doesn't matter. We all need the tools in our toolbox. So on how to navigate and how to control and handle our thoughts and how we think, move, feel through life and show up.
I love that. Awesome, Jules. Thank you so much again for being on yet another show, another idea, another project. Always so appreciative of you and your presence. I know that it's not a cheap one. So that I just appreciate you for always being so supportive in the journey. So again, y'all, if you want to work with Jules, please reach out to her. I will put her contact information below in the description and look forward to the next interview. Who knows what we're going to be talking about in 2 years. So it's a nice little marker, but yeah, go ahead, say bye, Jules, and then I'm going to go ahead and just wrap them up on my end.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, y'all, that one, this is an important one. This is episode number 5, and again, realizing that it was almost a decade, it's practically a decade, Jules, that I interviewed her and captured her story. And so, this is something that you'll see us collaborating often. But also, like, I wanted you to get a perspective, like, there's people out here that care about you. We're thinking about you. We want to help you. We want to support you, and again, like, just even no matter as many times as I get to know Jules and her story, I'm always reminded, like, the synchronicities that we have. But also just like once we get to that point where it's fully unlocked, y'all, just be prepared. Be prepared. But I think the biggest thing that I learned from our conversation with Jules, my biggest thing I always learn from Jules is, like, just keep going. I know that right now she's going through the ebbs and flows of entrepreneurship. This, like in what she shared in our mastermind was like, like, how are the bills going to get paid? How are, should I get my latte for today? Things of that sort. And then having to assess, like, the opportunity cost, having to assess, like, the little luxuries that we get to have, but I'm sure she can attest. And when she gets on it, it's like somehow it always finds its way. And I love, like, that's the second thing that I've observed and learned with her is just, like, trusting the process, because that's something for me. I'm like, yes, trust it, but also, can I also, like, see what's on the other side of that? That'd be great. And I think the last thing that I'm being reminded is just, like, to trust ourselves, to trust that we have everything that we need. We probably have way more than we actually need, and I think that's why we're trying to fill the need that's out there, whether it's being in this messy middle, being in this, this middle millennial generation between these two that seem very vastly different, but also very oddly similar at the same time. But I think, yeah, it's the process of trusting ourselves and that we know exactly what we need to do. We have everything that we need and that we just need to keep going. So, Jules, thank you again so much for being on the show. For all of you who have stuck with this conversation and have been seeing it all the way through, I hope that it's been encouraging to you. What you'll see is some patterns in that entrepreneurship in season 1. It's going to look a little bit different to everybody. And I think that's going to be the fun part of redefining it, because we think we've had different ideas of what it could be, but we're now moving into, I do believe, a second renaissance, you know? And so the world's going to be vastly different. And just know that you have folks like myself and Jules who are wanting to support you and guide you through those transitions as much as we can. And just know that you're not alone in this journey, and that, again, like what we've said earlier, that like we're better together. So if this is a content and series that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe. Again, I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about bringing the best guides onto this channel so that you can choose for yourself who you want to be guided by, who you resonate with, and what they want to share with you, and how they can put some tools in your toolbox so that you can get through this journey called life. All right, y'all, I appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next episode. All right.
Trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.